Oogly doogly. Anybody else having some weather? We're having some weather. It's snowing. It wasn't supposed to snow. It was supposed to rain a little bit, and that's it. So, puts me in a very housebound kind of mood. So we're like cooking and doing some filming and stuff like that. So, Cindy, Andy, Mr. McPhoebs, hello. Have a little bit to talk about today as we get going. I can't. Yeah, ho, yeah, I know that you can talk. You talk a lot of shit, but let me see if you can walk. Let me see you walk. I can't take credit for that. That's Saucy Santana from the song Walk. And I do not own the rights to it. So, Annie, hello. Batcat. Very chill. Yesterday we got a lot of time to just hang out and sleep a little bit. And then, like I said, it's snowing now. I think it's supposed to stop overnight. So I'm not going to be able to walk in late or snowbound tomorrow to work, you know. Um, I need a theme song. God. I never thought of a theme song for myself. So we're going to be spending the rest of tonight inside, and then we'll see what tomorrow looks like. So, Batcat, thank you. Calendar, hello, here to judge. Andy, Eula, making a meat pie with red wine and dark beer gravy. That sounds good. That sounds good, I would say. Hello, Donna, how are you? Raining going into church, snowing coming out. My parents came down for their Sunday visit, and I was like, are you guys okay? Because I looked out the window and it was mostly light rain with a few snowflakes. Well, then by the time they got here, it was snowing, sticking to the cars, but not much else, just kind of sticking a little bit. And then they left, and they live north of here, so they're probably going to get like 5 or 6 inches of snow. In the valley, they're saying 2 or 3, but it's supposed to snow till like 4 a.m. and it's already stacking up. So, like anyone else, can't control the weather. Can't control it, unfortunately. We can control our reaction to the weather. Mine might be snotty, but you know, so goes. So today we are going to catch up with our fair lady Chantal, Chantal Marie, Foodie Beauty, Big Beautiful Me, Daily Chantal, Chantopolis, Chantal Show, Miriam. I wonder if this new arc will have a name all its own. So we did check in for a coffee talk this week, a coffee break in the middle of the week. And what we were checking in on was her reacting to the reactors, which was another thing she wanted to try to do. Talked about her Timu endorsement, about how special she is to have Timu reach out to her. You know, Timu texts me like 9 times a day. They're reaching out for me, okay? And then she had gained weight and she wasn't entirely sure how. So, you like short hair? I can have short hair. Yeah. Today we're going with a hat because it's cold. Bald head gets cold. So that was into last week. Now going into this weekend check-in, we're talking about, she had an episode called The Beezing Hour, which was very, very recent. Fake pain, has to sit down, all sorts of stuff. She did a Q&A this week as well, part 1 of a Q&A, which is questions that were submitted from Beezers, viewers, what have you. The couples channel is not really a thing at this point anymore, according to Salah vis-a-vis his mouthpiece, because he's not quite a man, so he can't tell anyone himself. He has to hide behind his wife. So, Foodie Beauty did the 3K step walking challenge of hers, and so we're bedbound. She hurt herself doing half of what the doctor recommended. So, we'll get into it. We'll get into that. Salah seems to have come full circle with Foodie Beauty, from Hicks your hijab to her telling him to wipe her ass. Chantal can take the life out of a man, I swear you. Let's see what else. She was gaslighting the medical issue she has. People, hey Missy, thanks for stopping by. The new condition that she seems to have, that she's going to be some degree bedbound. The bedbound arc. This is the last arc if it's the bedbound arc, but we'll see. She thinks she has sciatica. At least that's what she told everyone. And then a couple other things about her attention seeking and going to the hospital, period. Now, just so we're all clear, her idea that she has something like sciatica is something she believes. She did a whole stream talking about what's good with it, what's bad with it, what her doctor said, what this, what that, which was all contradictory to the normal advice. My mother has sciatica. She's in her early 70s. And after she retired, she got another job, almost full time. Pain doesn't mean immobility. There's a difference between I can't move and it hurts to move. Pain management is it's on us. If we're in a lot of pain and we have to talk to our doctor and they don't give us anything, or they suggest like physical therapy, rather than just give you a pill. I'm sure she would love Lyrica. I'm sure she would. It has a little bit extra punch than the gabapentin does. Um, but I digress. I digress. So the Beezing hour, which she had, it was just a little bit earlier today. Again, I was talking about the fake pain, how she has to sit down. Has to sit down. Now, sciatica sucks from the people I've seen. Thank you, Meepsters. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the super chat. Knowing people who've had sciatica, it doesn't sound like what she's doing. Yeah, she would abuse. Lyrica's not physically addictive, but everyone I know who's addicted to a bunch of different kinds of pills, Lyrica and Ambien are always in the mix. There goes the Ambien commercials we were going to have. And they don't really fix anything. They just kind of treat symptoms. But since she doesn't have a rock-solid diagnosis, when you end all that with, yeah, I think. So everything before that was bullshit. Anything she led you to believe the doctor said to her, she thought. Maybe she had sciatica. It's been suggested it's, diabetic neuropathy, I guess. That's a thing. I didn't have a time to look into it, but that would leave her in a rough spot. Wonder if what is the Muslim equivalent of spilling tea? I don't know. I couldn't guess. But there has to be, and she's doing all of it. He's never going to come back from that shitting on people thing. Never. And I'm not passing moral judgment, but it's gross to most people, I think. We say we don't want to kink shame. Well, how very nice of us. There's plenty of people who are perfectly normal that we shame, but people who get off on shit, we got to be extra careful. You don't want to upset the shit-eating community and take any of their dignity away. So she's going to be like Steve Asante on 600-pound life abusing pain meds. I believe so, because she's going to hit a threshold where she's so big that she'll probably need them. But again, pain is not the same as immobility. Yes, Jen had problems with her feet. Jen had problems with neuropathy. She was afraid to stand up because she was afraid she'd fall, which, I get. She was over 500 pounds. That makes sense to me. But she had trouble walking because she didn't have much feeling in her feet. At least that's what she had said. That's what Jen had reported, and tied into her not being able to walk much. So then we just saw her. The only time you saw her standing was like cleaning. She was usually in the scooter, that kind of thing. But her on a scooter got around better than Chantal in Thailand. I guess you just have to make the most out of whatever's left of your life when you're done hurting yourself, and you see what the consequences actually might be. So we had a Q&A this week. She had a Q&A, part 1. Now, you have to take into context with Q&As with Chantal. Chantal closes her comment section constantly, gets rid of the thumbs up and thumbs down. Nobody does that when the numbers are flattering. So she had left. Anyway, 1 second. So the questions were submitted by Beezers, and they were handpicked and edited by Chantal. So we're going to hear about things that she thinks are important that we should care about. She started early in the video saying, all that shit about Salah, I'm not talking about. What's more interesting than hearing about one part of a couple after the couples channel kind of collapses? I want to hear. And he's busy doing errands for her. Full circle. Full circle. Fix your hijab. Don't walk that. Don't look that. Kicking her on the side of the leg, too. She's got him whipped now. Or she's lying there in a puddle of her own filth, doesn't want anyone to know, and is explaining to us that Salah's be the one taking care of her. Not to be tongue-in-cheek, but I don't think he'd mind wiping her ass. But the rest of it, Pete's is the closest thing to a nurse that she ever had and might have needed. Flashing my ring. This is $15. This is one of those spacers. So, exactly. There goes 80% of the questions. She's not going to ask anything that's challenging. She acted very smug during all of this. Like, you guys are so nosy. You asked for questions. And then, because you're so nosy. Why don't you just tell us what you want us to know? Why don't you even make up the questions? And then tell us the answers to all of them. Now, that'd be too much work. That'd be too much work for her to do. But, we haven't done a Q&A in 1,000 years. And they're fun to do, but, not all the time. And if you're not going to answer questions that are either going to be, super funny, or super embarrassing, or super transparent, then there's really nothing to say. It's, oh, Chantal, what's your favorite place to get food in Kuwait? No one cares. Chantal cares. But nobody else does. I don't know. So the smugness and the self-importance with which she was answering questions was so off-putting that if you had never even met Chantal, or you hadn't, what would you put together from listening to that Q&A if it was the first time you ever met her? You could smell smug without even knowing. She just has one of those people that thinks her shit doesn't stink. Of course it probably does. So, at any rate, the couple's channel being gone. So she conceded as one of the videos went on, saying that actually it was Salah's call. He doesn't want to be on camera. He doesn't want to be helping. He doesn't want he filmed her a little bit, but totally off camera. He doesn't want anything to do with it. Duh! Like he wants to exacerbate that situation. It's already hard to get through on LinkedIn and get your name out there to get jobs, and what's he gonna put? He could put caretaker or personal assistant probably on his resume now, because the longer she stays there, the less likely she is to leave the room. She'll get very comfortable. She's not going to be bedbound, but she's going to lay down all the time. It's just an excuse. It's an excuse of hers. She was doing too much. So, hey Jay, what's up, what's up? You guys are honest enough in our visits, we don't need Q&A. Well, thank you, Mr. McPhoebe. I can see sometimes people are new to your channel, like especially if you grew, let's say you gained a few hundred subscribers in a couple months. Maybe you want to reintroduce yourself to some people who haven't seen you since then. Or there's different questions because our life looks a little bit different. And ain't nothing new with Chantal. Nothing new with Chantal. So, someone on Twitter said she's a smug demon. I'll go with smug, can't comment on the demon, but she's close to being bedbound, faking it might happen. See, Chantal is aware of us and other people who are more cruel, not just giving observations, but telling her she's garbage. She wouldn't take advice from most of us, I would say. It just wouldn't be anything she would do. She would not listen to the chat. She barely listens to the doctor. But the idea that she'd be bedbound tickles some people. Everyone's waiting for the karma to come. Everyone's waiting until it drops. And now she'd be bedbound. Chantal knows that people are tickled about bad things happening to her. She knows, so she lets out a little bit to let you know, like, maybe she is having consequences of her bad choices. And that makes haters want to watch, because you want to see, is her life falling apart yet? Because it's due to by now. So when she puts out those little things, it kind of flares that up. It doesn't mean it's sincere. Rule 1 of Girl World is Chantal lies. She might just want to take a few days off her back. Maybe she got a splinter and doesn't want to have to get up. And do you want to fight with her? If you came down and Chantal was sitting on your couch saying her back hurt and she couldn't get up, what would you do? I guess that leaves Salah do. If she's bedbound, it would be okay. He just filmed from bed. When you're as right as most people are, you don't have to say it. But, I mean, her putting herself, her graduating to being bedbound is almost kind of the word I would use. Bedbound and loving it. She's finally be in the position where she would have nothing to do but have people wait on her hand and foot all day. So, thank you, Sapphire. I'm feeling myself today, little bit. So, the filters were struggling on that stream. They are getting a little harder to hide all the nasty stuff. So, let's see where the notes go. The 3K challenge. So 3K, just so we're all clear, is not 3 kilometers. It was 3,000 feet she was supposed to walk. Technically, the doctor had recommended to her to walk 6,000 steps per day. She halved that because she knows better. You don't want to push yourself too hard. You might get improvement. You've got to up the ante a little, but she had decided to go for half the walk. She stopped a bunch of times while she was going. Steps, thank you. How many? So she kept stopping, so she's not walking. She's stopping. And he's filming her, I guess begrudgingly. And she keeps saying, oh, holding up her phone for proof. And she gets it. No one believes a word she says, so she comes out with that. She still lies. And now it's left her disabled. Left her totally disabled. She's off her feet. Now, like I said, my mother has sciatica, and she's more active, and she's 30 years older. These are the consequences Chantal will have, except she'll have them younger. She's put a lot of years. She put a lot of miles on that body, okay? So it's not just gonna roll over. Trust me, I hit 40, and all of a sudden there was gray hairs coming out everywhere. One of my knees started to knock. The back pain. I mean, part of that's getting old. Part of it's being heavier and getting old. Like, I've been fat off and on. Mostly on, but off sometimes. For the last 20 years. So different periods, my health was good, and then in other ones it wasn't. So, GG. Great weather we're having? Yes, it is. It's teasing snow, and then it snows, and it stops, and it rains, and I don't know. So, with the 3,000 step challenge being just met and then her being immobilized the next few days, either means she's sicker than her doctor knows, because from what he described, she's either sicker than that because she held back too much, or she's lying about the severity of the symptoms she's having. Now, faking sick is not new to Chantal. It's something she does. The first times I noticed it, because I've only seen her since the beginning of her, career, I suppose, was with BB. When she was with BB, there was a trip to the ER because she overate cheese. Now, I have to stand on a recovery ground and say if she was sincerely feeling like self-harming because she overate, then she needs to go to the hospital. No matter how stupid the reason is, if someone feels unsafe, go to the hospital. But it's one of the more peculiar triggers that I've heard before. And she had gone with BB. BB was very attentive from what she described. And I believe he probably was. After she had had her hysterectomy, she was getting help being looked after. So he was a genuinely good guy who just wasn't into her. That probably almost hurts more than Natter or Salah, because she was, I guess, able with BB to be herself, and herself at that time wasn't so off-putting. She was more likable. Even on the channel, she had more friends. She went out and did things. Now she's just this lone recluse trying to convince everyone that her shit doesn't stink. It's not interesting. And then what would she have talked about this week? Without being sick and people being mad at her, if she took out any of the content from this week where she was talking about reactors, minute for minute, reactions have given her more to talk about rather than the opposite. So, like I said, when she gaslights that things are going bad, it reminds me of Dorothy Spornak. Her sister on the Golden Girls came to visit. And the sister was at one time very wealthy, but now a little bit poor. And Dorothy never liked her sister, and so she's reveling in it. And then when she can't get her to say that things are actually going tough, Dorothy says, "Oh, go ahead, hide your pain, I can wait." And I kind of feel like that's the angle some folks take. It's like, fine, we're just looking at the clock waiting for karma to start. But we might be missing something also if I don't look at the fact that this is part of karma. I mean, all of her choices have led this direction, and she has the nerve to seem a little stunned about it, which is really, throwing your life away, throwing money away, trying to parade around the marriage. I mean, don't you want to be really happy instead of just trying to pretend happy for YouTube? I'd rather a depressed, honest Chantal, or someone who could finally admit, I lie. I lie about this, I lie about that, and this is why I lie. Doesn't make me trust her, but it lets me know that she has some clarity of thought. That she's not just mindlessly, pathologically lying at every stage of her life. As it goes, she's probably been passed by her peers, as far as moving along in life. Chantal doesn't have anything of her own that she owns. I think she paid the Kia off, and the cats were property. So I don't know. Who is this diabetes doctor she has? I don't think there is one. I don't think so. She's not getting very good care. And go to a doctor again. She's not going to go to another doctor. I don't even know if she went to this one. It sounds pretty made up. Because she described the absolute opposite of home care that you should be doing with it. And that's from stuff I know, from stuff I've looked up. And she's trying to depend on people's lack of knowledge to accept her assessment over an actual assessment. So don't listen to them, listen to me. Plus, we have to think about too, what is she trying to draw attention away from right now? There's always an extra, don't look over there, look over here. So we're looking over here, and here is her bedbound. What are we supposed to not be talking about and not be looking at? There's only so much of the leftover shit on stuff coming, or so. I don't think we're going to see Salah for a while. She'll manipulate him into being on camera again. Food for her supreme. I think she resigned herself to what she wants. Every 2 hours, obnoxious amounts, and she's rolling the dice. What happens, happens. That's her mindset. I think Jen, which is also concerning because it gets closer to Jen's experience, by the time she was bedbound, she didn't seem like she'd given up, but she was, I guess the word resigned. She was resigned to the fact that she was probably going to die of complications of obesity. And so there was no urgency because she had essentially already given up and was kind of just trying to go through the motions of it. But her situation's different. You know, say what you want about Gene. I certainly would. I didn't like him very much. Sweetheart when he's sober, scumbag when he's drunk. I'm positive I met 1,000 Genes. You know, doll baby, carry your groceries, walk your dog for you. And then he starts drinking, all of a sudden that big cup of change you have on the dresser's gone after he visited. Like things like that. So, but he was there with her. Her hair was just about gone, and he was still brushing her, holding his hand. Now, was he helping her die? When we talk enabling, I guess only between the two of them would know. We couldn't see everything. We saw what was on camera, but we couldn't see everything. I didn't like Gene for Jen, but I guess it's kind of irrelevant now. And there were people that had a hard-on for him even after she had passed. People who were trying to go the extra step, like, you know, people who call Chantal's hotel and say that she's, you know, part of a terrorist group, something similar to that to try to cause problems. People were trying to cause problems for Gene because he was, I guess, still staying in the building where he was with Jen, and there was people who had a hard-on for him to get him out because I guess they blamed him or didn't like him or something. So Salah's not going to be that guy because he's not going to be on camera. She's going to be sitting alone in an empty room with her phone, all alone with all her friends. It's sad. It's not sad like she's pathetic, I feel disgusted for her, but I think if I found myself in her situation, I would just be so upset with myself that I had let everything go so long. You know, finds these lazy men. She can't get a real man. She can't. She can't even pay one, apparently. If you can't pay someone to come over and do a good job, I don't know. And I'm sure this puts a cut into Salah's payroll, especially if he's not going to be on camera anymore and he's not going to contribute any old little handful of nickels a day from the couples channel. It's not going to come up. His gaming channel. There's all sorts of stuff tied in. She lost part of the happy couple she wanted to flaunt. Yeah, we were all supposed to feel guilty and jealous. And, you know, she's going to show us, where's your man? Well, honey, where's your man? Your manimal, where's he? Isn't he supposed to come out and be a man and protect his women and do all that kind of stuff? Or is he going to speak through her like a freaking wet... Never mind. I don't want to use too bad of a language on the live. So, that's what I'm saying with Salah, this kind of coming full circle thing. How when she went there, it was assumed that she's going to a somewhat misogynistic culture. And she's going to be expected to act differently. She'll be and especially because she converted to a religion. It's not like she just moved to Kuwait. She converted to Islam. And I think on the sake of principle, there's folks who say, you know what, I don't care if she's Muslim, Christian, or whatever, but tell me you're a member of a club. Use that as a way to try to one-up people and then show me how much you participate and that I've read more of the Quran. Probably. You know, it doesn't take much. She has all the time in the world. She could probably finish it in like 2 days. It's not important to her to do. It's like the stuff with the cats. She was going to breed them. All that means is, no, they're not spayed yet. That she hasn't taken care of her pets. She got her fat ass to a doctor when she didn't feel well. But the cats, there's nothing in it for her to take the cat to the vet. The only thing she'll have fear of is that people will notice that it might be going ignored. She did volunteer that since she'll be bedbound, that Salah is going to have to do the cat boxes. She said he mostly does that. Of course he does. What does she do? To be a fly on the wall. If I had like a day and a half to kill, I'd be curious just to watch live stream. She'd probably just sit there, eat, play on her phone, go to sleep, wake up, order food, you know. I can't make Friday Night Lives. I hope you and Mark are... Hey, Amanda, how are you? So, now her husband, who is her caretaker, who's the heavy, who's looking after her, is so humiliated that he can't even come online. Would this have happened if he wasn't friends with Chantal? I don't know. Her regular schedule, up at the crack of 5 p.m. What does she do? I mean, if she's doing something important that she's hiding from everybody, great, nice, it's good to have a full life. But I know when I've had like a sick day or two from home and I'm too sick to go to work, but I'm not sick enough that I'm like pillow over my head, sit there and fuck around on my phone all day gets boring. After a day. And it's the better part of her life she devotes to TikTok. And then watching videos of people who don't like her and insisting she's not watching those videos. She can't help herself. She's too impulsive. She sees her name, she's got to see what it says about it. Now, most people aren't that insecure, but she mood alters off of her channel as much as she does other stuff. So I don't know. sports injury. She was going to get a maid, remember? Because she was, and then decided, no, I'm going to be physically active. Not so much. Not so much. She's going to miss running around Canada. Why do I think she might come back to Canada again? Which she could. To get treatment for her sciatica. Like, I'm trying to see, are we building up, going, to she's going to have to disappear from camera sometime to go get something fixed. She's at least laying the groundwork for why she might be away a little bit. And I lost track. It's only, every 3 months she's out of there. Every 3 months, new apartment, new car, new this, new that. Can't believe she doesn't miss her car. She does, but I think, Sherry, but I think she's probably, you know, she's going like this. She tells us that it's worth it. But I don't think she thinks it's worth it. In those few seconds per video where she drops face and she ends up like rolling her eyes, or you can tell she doesn't even believe what the hell she's talking about, and she's just trying to fill dead air and eat. So, last Visa run was the diabetes arc. We'll see what this one is. The sciatica arc. You know what we should do for content, Mark? We should document every single time we go to the doctor and make sure to tell everyone, don't be worried, I know best, just to play with them. You know, she likes to manipulate, so she never should have left Canada, Linda Blue, you're right. She should not have left Canada. What the hell was she? Oh yeah, she can never lose. She sounds like somebody else who says, I didn't lose, you cheated. And she's about as well liked. So, left hand, hello, how are you? She would have been better off to stay in Canada, but she burned all those bridges financially. So if she goes back, she has very little to have access to start rebuilding a life again. She can use her YouTube income, but she hasn't still had any idea of like budgeting, savings. If you ask her, she would say, how do you know I don't? Which means she doesn't. But there's enough doubt in uncertainty for her to hang on to that as the truth. But I think she burned all the bridges. She's out of friends. If you were her family member, would you co-sign a card note for her so that she could have wheels? Her family didn't like her very much, and it seemed like when she went back, there wasn't a whole lot to say. You know, she can't afford a place on her own, $1,300 to $1,700 for a studio. It'd be half, but then she'd be like, welcome to the world. Like, there's a lot of us who, for reasons that suck and are various, are paying a third to a half of our take-home in rent, because we don't own. So, yes, radioactive, the bedbound begins. It begins. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how catered to she is. Now, how's she gonna do a mukbang in bed? She's gonna have to lay on her side and eat sideways, kind of in recline. And she'll say, oh, everyone in the Middle East does this. But they do it for different reasons, I think. But I don't think she's gonna sit there with a bad back and she's up to here and then put a tray. We won't even see her, you know. Eat lying down. There's a change of pace. You know, there's something very decadent to eating in bed, which I always, you know, which is always fun. But it's her only companion in there, I think. So, and what is she going to do streaming in there? Live streams mostly, because it hurts her back to plan content. So, wonder if they have a wheelchair with them. Probably the same one she uses at the airport. Well, they have their own. But, I mean, for all the hints she gives on camera, there's no way she's taken more than 1,000 steps a day, any day. She just shuffles to the bathroom in the kitchen and comes back. You know, and even at that, she needed some extra help. Like, you know, it's not really bad. She couldn't clean the bathroom. She couldn't clean the kitchen. The 2 rooms that she makes the biggest mess in, she couldn't do it. Her back hurt. And now that her back really hurts, I mean, she might not get up for a week or so. Odd posture because of her shape. Yeah, Siggy, I'd agree. And that's not shaming. That's not nothing. It's just like, it's just what it is. And the filters, her face is looking different. It's looking puffy and then deflated. So something's going on. She's going to blow her kidneys taking Celebrex twice a day. I don't know that she's taking that medicine. You know, if she might have made the whole thing up. Again, Chantal lies. I don't know that I think she didn't think far enough ahead that other people are also aware of what sciatica is and nerve damage and things like that, and she's not certain it's sciatica. She gave us all the reason to believe that it was a diagnosis that the doctor gave her. And then at the end says, it's sciatica, I think. If you don't know, then don't be taking everything. I don't know what you can get over the counter in Kuwait. I'm not 100% sure. Um, you're prohibited from taking it due to a cardiac issue. So there's other things that go that. Yeah, Celebrex, like, they tried to put Mark on Celebrex. He didn't. He managed it with other medication, but she was going to go for, she didn't want to get a shot, or she didn't. But, like, those nerve type of things sometimes can be fixed like that. Quick shot or a trip to the chiropractor, and sometimes things loosen up and there's no pain. But unless they do in-call to come to her house and do it for her, she said Salah was rubbing her. I'll bet. Honey, can you rub my back? It hurts so much. Like he would put a hand on her otherwise. And that he was using a massager also, so he didn't have to touch her. And that it was not working. And I can vouch for the fact that when you have that kind of pain, some stuff does hurt. Like the vibrations might hurt. The other stuff could hurt from it. So I get that, but bed rest is not what's prescribed. So I don't know. Easier to get painkillers in Kuwait, Miss McPhoebe? I would speculate that you could get things a little easier. I mean, it's Kuwait, but it's not Mars. You know, there's still people who stuff still gets in. We don't have any drugs or anything in this prison. There's always there. It's just a matter of finding it. Chantal's slick, so I imagine she would have taken her time. But Salah must have known about it because she never went anywhere without him. Except for that one time she went to Starbucks and drove. What I wouldn't have seen to get her pulled over for driving. What I wouldn't have seen. Grody for a grody fetish. I think, seriously, we're gonna have this. Salah's humiliation. How could he possibly go back online now anywhere? On his channel, on couples, on hers? It's not that kind of thing is, there's worse things than his, niche sexual interests, I suppose. But it's so striking that it's the one that stands out. So, you wonder on the singles profiles, like, what are you into? Well, I'm into long walks, and I'm into going to the beach, and I'm into munching on dirty diapers, and I don't know. Probably hard to diagnose because all her landmarks are buried. She's difficult. I can't imagine how they did the hysterectomy. God love her. I'm sure that hurt because at her size, how could it not? How could it not? She also avoids proper diet. See, if you skip, she never goes to the same doctor twice. She will never go back to the doctor she was just at. She will never go. She'll find a reason not to go. In other parts of the world, they call it doctor shopping, where if you don't find the meds, or diagnosis you want, you keep going around and looking until you get them. And Chantal has a history of addiction with food, with substances, with people, with relationships, with drama, and all that kind of stuff. She has all that co-occurring. So take that away, how can she get high bedbound? The only thing she'll be able to do is eat. Beth, I've had my doctor for just a little while, but she's good. I've been within the same practice. So, tell me you know everything about losing weight while going. Yeah. I don't think she's able to... See, what I don't understand, she likes the easy road, and no road is really easy to weight loss, whether you do intermittent fasting or whether you get a bypass or a lap band or you fast or whatever. Every few months there's something new we should be doing, and the thing we were doing was killing us, and that'll change again in another 3. So, but for the condition she's alleging to have, she's not speaking at all the truth about how it would be addressed. So it's, in my thinking, she made it up. She might have hurt her back walking 3,000 feet, which should be concerning beyond the point of laying down for 3 days. The fact that the doctor wouldn't have prescribed 600 or 6,000 steps if he thought it was dangerous. So, if he thought it was going to be a problem, if he thought it was going to be an issue, he wouldn't say, go ahead. So, and to have that goal, just meet it, and be up, down for the count, again, I have to say, she misunderstands immobility with pain. Just because it hurts to get up and walk doesn't mean necessarily that you're doing damage. It doesn't mean anything's more wrong than it was before. Sometimes conditions hurt. Not to the level where you need, opioids all the time. But hurt enough that you might need to deal with it. You can take NSAIDs. They try to give them to Mark. But, for how much pain some folks are in, if you have, RA or if you're, chronic fatigue, any of those kind of autoimmune things. So, from MyFitnessPal, not a doctor. Thank you, Annie. And then she halved that one. It's not gonna matter. I mean, you can't put out a raging fire with a spray bottle. All these little victories she has. Oh, I didn't eat the fried. She's done with little victories. She doesn't have enough time for small victories. She doesn't have another 20 years. She spent the last 20 this way. Don't you want to see life might look a little different? I can tell you from being fat, and I don't know if anyone here has been obese or overweight. Welcome if you are. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But I can tell you from being thin, actually thin. I'm 6 feet tall, and I think I got down just under 150. And I'm a pretty broad build. I looked like a linebacker with cancer. And people treat you differently when you're thin. People treat you nicely when you're thin. They do. I don't think people mean to, but it's just what it is. People would hold the door for me. Even straight guys were nicer to me. Because it's one less off-putting thing. I still think it's the deep-seated, if you're fat, you're lazy, and you ate yourself to death. Just because that's Chantal's case, it doesn't mean it's everybody's necessarily. She's found her own way into her circumstances. She's done it her way and will not be told. And so she's reaping the results of all of her own ill-informed decisions. And could mean her dying in a bed in Kuwait. In a sweaty apartment, in a sweaty abaya. I don't think so. I don't think so. Bed rest is very slippery. Very slippery. We had all of us had been saying, all she has to do is break an ankle, and she's never going to walk again. Give her half a reason to not have to get out of bed, and she won't. She'll be on her side. I'm going to tell you, though, sleeping on her side probably won't hurt her back, because that's how she's going to have to film if she's in bed. She can't film like this on her bed. So she'll be on her side and say it's the only position it doesn't hurt in. Ta-da! That is Mark in the background cooking. Mark!
Yeah.
They can hear you cooking. He's actually baking. He's working on something for, I think, tomorrow. So, swimming's harder, takes more cardio. If she can't walk, she can't swim. That's, at this point, Bella, I would think she needs someone trained. Somebody with some initials after their name to help her with things like movement, because she's put herself into such a state that she can have unexpected bad consequences from simply walking. Mark's doing Mark things. He's doing hot guy things off camera. So, I don't know. Coffee? Anybody? She needs inpatient, Andy. They don't. It's difficult. In the United States, you can have somebody involuntarily committed if they're in such a condition that within the next 30 days they would devolve and die because they can't take care of themselves. That'd be the closest thing to probably get her in. They'll always let you take back, not always, often in a hospital, they'll let you take back the thoughts of self-harm, plan, that kind of stuff if you can contract for safety. Chantal doesn't want help. She wants to go to the ER. That's much more of an interesting story. That sets up anticipation of what we can watch later. It's something to put in the community post that we can all ask questions about tomorrow. She'll tell us all about, and 2 days later say it's nobody's business. Chantal is unfortunately getting kind of predictable. And now we're dealing with her being immobile. What does it happen to be? End of the month? How about that? You don't think she looked at her numbers, thought that they weren't going to be that good, and made something up? Because she would never do something like that. She's too upstanding. She doesn't want help, she wants pity. Per Roxy, and I'm inclined to agree. She wants the attention that comes with it. Pity is one of the lowest forms of energy, in the universe. And I don't even talk about energy and all that shit. But pity is a very flat kind of acknowledgement. I've been in the hospital in and out for psych stuff, mental health stuff, once for medical stuff. And there is a certain kind of attention people give you when they feel like you're in a rough spot. And they may be a little bit sweeter and a little kinder. This is what Chantal hopes to bring out in her romantic partners when she frames herself as sick. It's a test to see how they're going to handle her. BB had flying colors. He took all the care in the world for her, treated her like a queen, and then as soon as those stitches healed, he was gone. Well, it was gone. She left there and got the other stuff out into the villa. And the stuff. She kept leaving the door open to come back. This is what happened with letters, too. She said, cheekily, all I have to do is get in their apartment. And then she starts moving her shit in. Remember? Bringing her TV over, and then bringing her air fryer over, and then bringing this, and bringing that. It's embarrassing to receive pity. Now, concerned people may have sympathy or empathy for a person's situation. You know, I can see that. I can sympathize with it, but the idea that you feed on pity, it's nice to have other people think of you, but to only be thought of as, oh, how sad. Oh, how sad. Not pride. Not everyone's on her side. Not everyone in her family is so impressed with how good of a job she is taking care of herself. None of it. They're all going to traipse to the hospital, see her on holidays, leave. She'll eat everything they brought, and then she'll be streaming from her nursing bed, from her personal care home, because she's going to reach a point. Who's going to flip her? If she falls off the couch, let's say she has hurt something and she can't get up, what is Salah going to do? Even if Salah was himself 400 pounds of solid muscle, it would still be hard for him to do that. They'd have to call an ambulance or something. But how are they even going to get her out of there? The country isn't built for people big as her. Kuwait does have a disproportionately high number of obese people, considering its contemporary countries around. But as we export our first world lifestyles, we export soda, obesity, laziness, overeating, living for the moment, indulging in all your vices. Like, that's the kind of thing that gets exported from the West. And so it creates problems and disease in places that didn't have those problems before. You didn't have a problem with too many people drinking soda 2,000 years ago. It wasn't that big of a deal. But in exchange for a convenience lifestyle, it's exchanged for sometimes poor health. Looks like Kuwait is mostly class 1 obese people, not plus 3. No, well, she's further down. That's like when she calls herself plus size. Like, on a runway, 10 is plus size. And she said she's down to a, 6X? I think we were down to a 6X. And that's not as bad as it could be, I suppose. That's the thing. Here's the thing, Carrie. If you and I don't know, she doesn't either. Because we're thinking further ahead than she is. Which is why I think some people get confused with her. It's like, how could you not have seen that coming? How could you not have predicted that this could go bad? Like, were you that head in the sky? With Salah, she literally is that head in the sky. She'll tell herself all she needs to know to get herself there on a plane with her husband. Her husband is for us. It's not for her. It's for us to be able to see that she has somebody. Let me pull back us, not just YouTube, the world. She wants people to see that she's lovable, and he's proof of that, which means everything everyone else says is wrong, because we don't know what it's like to be alone with her. I don't know. Yeah, she thinks she's cute, chubby. There's a market out there. Just because she's 400 pounds doesn't mean that she's not worthy of love and attention and help, but you want to give people their dignity, especially if they're in sick situations, but she has no dignity. For someone with no dignity, she has a lot of pride at the same time, which is weird. But so it goes. She needs the attention. She needs it from reactors. She needs it from the people in her life to be reassured that they love her, because you're probably not going to get it otherwise. Absolutely, Andy, lid for every pot. Did you think I was going to get married? I didn't think I was going to get married. And if you met me 10 years ago, you really would have been sure. Speaking of Foodie sidebar, so I found the notebook that I made notes in tonight, and I was using it. It was from my rehab 16 years ago? 14 years ago. When I was in rehab, I had the notes and the stories I wrote and everything like that. It was memory lane. And I was in better condition in that locked inpatient facility than she is roaming free. The fact that I spent years in a hospital and that she was going around just living her life is bothersome. Bothersome to me. Actually, I don't care. I don't care enough about it. But, let's see. Where does this leave us? 14 years ago. Yeah. Well, it was 2012 was when I had gone to the last long inpatient treatment, and it was 90 days. And previously I had only had addiction treatment for like 21 days, 28 days, and then you're switched to outpatient, because unless you're shaking to death with the DTs, my insurance company doesn't want to pay. They'll pay for detox, and then as soon as I'm medically stable, they would kick me out. That's just how that goes. You're better off actually with government insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, to get in and out, because they'll pay for everything. Private insurance sounds good, easier to get a doctor sometimes, but it's an arm and a leg. So it goes. But I wouldn't even trust Chantal's version of what happened if she showed a bottle of Celebrex. And anyway, what is she setting us up for? Now, like I said, it's the end of the month, so it's going to be some horse shit. It's always going to be some horse shit at the end of the month, to try to drum up us talking and them watching and all that kind of stuff. Find her less attractive. She had a very pretty face, and they say that about big girls, period. But objectively, if she was 130, she would still have had a very pretty face. Now it looks like someone let the air out of a balloon. And she's still a big girl, but it looks like she has droop in her face. And then with her not being able to walk correctly, part of the thing she had mentioned, which ties back to with walking, she said, well, I can't really bend my knees. So she's literally doing the penguin, trying to balance herself. You know she can't see the ground in front of her. So I don't know why she doesn't even have more accidents. ALR's prettier than her. Maybe at one point they would have been equally as pretty, but Chantal has nothing to do with covering her hair and not wearing makeup. There's plenty of beautiful Muslim women who wear abayas and even have that thing up to here and are still very beautiful. So it's not necessarily that she's covered up, it's something else, actually. So I don't know. So looking at where she's been going with the content, I think going into February. Well, in February we have St. Valentine's Day, which they won't observe, which means he doesn't know about it. She won't tell him because he won't do anything about it. She's aged quite a bit in the last couple years, physically. She hasn't matured, mind you, she's just aged. There's a difference. And she's been spending more of her time there. Now, I gotta give Chantal, on paper, a tiny bit of credit, because what did she always say she wants to do? I'm gonna travel bees and this and that. She did a little traveling, but she only found, like, Thailand wasn't meant to be sightseeing. That was just to do whatever. She's not gonna find a man who's man enough for her. Like, she took Salah, you know, this machismo. Well, he was a bit of a wet rag, but took him and turned him into an ass wiper for her. I don't know how these big girls do that. It was suggested once that Amberlynn Reid pursues relationships with women because they're easier to emotionally manipulate if they think that you have something going for them. So depending on what your priorities are, Amberlynn Reid is a catch, depending on what you're trying to catch, I suppose. I think they went to less than a handful of real places on a 1-month vacation. She spends the rest of the time in the room eating. You know, there is no I told you so, really. I mean, there's a bit of schadenfreude that when Chantal kind of lets on that something might not be going too well, of people to see that. It's like, oh, good, the karma really cares if anything bad happens to her. They're more interested in how bad did it get her attention. I don't know what would have to get Chantal's attention. She could be immobile and still defend it. 7-Eleven in Thailand, that's what we got to see, a 7-Eleven. Now, I can appreciate going on vacation and you don't want to go out anywhere, so you stay in the hotel for like a day or two just to get your sleep back on track, or if you caught anything trembling, just to be there. Mark and I, when we travel, would do that. You know, we were staying in a couple different hotels. You know, if we're going to be here for 3 days, we'll get the first night, run to a grocery store, settle in, watch some bad TV, you know, just do the easiest kind of thing. Just the fun kind of stuff. And then we would take time to go sightsee probably the next day or the one after, but not sit around and eat the whole time. I mean, it's her only real interest. She eats when she's happy. She eats when she's sad. She eats when she's guilty. She eats when she's happy. She eats when she's married. She eats when she's single. It's independent of everything else. The continual sweating got to me. She was sweaty a lot. And right now, it's not particularly hot in Kuwait. We'll see as we get closer to summer, which last year she just stayed indoors for the most part, I believe. So, Lisa Lou, hello! Foodie Beauty 100% never acknowledges the reality of her actual life. On Big B, I'm inclined to agree. She doesn't see the seriousness of it. She doesn't see any sort of urgency that goes with it. I wonder if she thinks, I wonder how low her self-esteem is. Like, does she ever get to the point where she thinks, if I died, would anyone care? Like, I wonder how far down that goes. I don't think she's introspective enough to, like, see about that. But if she visa runs and can't get back to Kuwait, then let's get ready. Let's get ready to see. I don't know. But if anything's gonna, no one's gonna feel bad. I don't know what could happen to Chantal that people would feel bad about, but it's not this. And she's gonna gaslight this immobility thing and probably get mad at her talk egg with a hammer, not as sympathetic. Catch me at 25, at 40, I don't care. So, how could she be truly happy? I think that's a lot of people's question. You know, how could this be, like, is this what she was shooting for? Was this relationship the goal? She just wanted to have someone to be able to say they loved her, or at least someone that she could say as proof to other people, I'm lovable, which I think is the bigger thing. She thinks she's lovable. When Beezers leaves, she gets a little pissed off. You know, there was the big three, like they had gone, and she just gets pissy. She just gets pissy with it. Getting pissy with it. No. Scatman, anybody? Dwee ba 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 da boop. Going to rewind and watch from the beginning, but I wanted to wish you all a fantastic week. You too, just a sub. Everyone else, good week. Fantastic week. Make it a good one. This is the time of year where I don't have, like, there's no work holidays until, like, Memorial Day or something. So I don't have any extra long weekends or anything coming up unless I schedule them myself. So we'll be working. Tell Mark I made his 4-ingredient potatoes and they were delicious. I will, Aunt Bigby. I definitely will. They were good. They were good. So where does this leave us with her going forward? Well, at least for the next few days. She won't move if she doesn't want to, but if she has to get up to get something, like a food order at the door, she'll say, oh, I was able to hobble over there. Right after her smug ass, yeah. But she's just, it's the pity. She wants pity. And I don't know why. I mean, there's no cheaper feeling than people kind of generically telling you that they feel bad for your situation, when in reality, they either think you did it to yourself or they don't care. When someone's kind of rude and obnoxious and is dishonest, people don't care when something happens to a person like that. And so when Chantal whispers here and there that she's having a hard time, there's plenty of people going, good. You know, I hope it doesn't kill her, but I hope it gets her attention. Does her life affect me? Not so much beyond just watching TV. I've said I relate to Chantal a lot because this let everyone else clean up the mess kind of attitude, I did it for. That's more of a personality thing than it is anything you're going to give a pill for. And she could be in perfect mobile health and she would still be a bitch. So, I pity the fool. Oh yeah, thumbs up, don't forget everybody. We have a good crowd in here too, 389. Thank you all for being here. Welcome. It's always good to have a full house. Always good to have a full house. So with Chantal having all these flaws and me saying I could relate to them, does that mean I'm as big a piece of shit as Chantal? Well, it depends who you ask, probably. If you ask someone during my drinking, they would say yes. And it's a way to, you have to kind of live, I don't know, this would be more advice for her than y'all, because y'all are pretty normal. But, you know, you have to learn to take yourself a little less seriously. I mean, this indignant arrogance is, not only is it not cute, it's not likable. It's not interesting. People don't want to know how an obnoxious person is doing unless they're doing bad. Hence, we get bedbound arc just in time for a lot of views to come into it. So, you know. But I think I'm out of pity for Foodie Beauty. Smug. I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and you're just jealous because blah, blah, blah. Sit in your own filth, okay? And tell everyone else they're jealous. You want people to be jealous of a life that does not exist on camera. And there's very little proof it exists off camera as well. You can't say that we have proof you're unhappy or not married or this or that or sick. You know whether or not you're full of shit, hopefully. And if you don't, you're the perfect candidate for some of the treatment you gaslight getting all the time. Questions? This has felt a bit more lecture-y than some other ones. I apologize if the tone of this was a little bit like that. So, not jealousy, more like inspiration to never allow yourself to end up like her. Yes. All you have to do is look at all of Chantal's choices and do the opposite. You'll be wealthier. You'll be more stable. You'll be in better health. You'll drive a nicer car. You will consider decisions maybe a little more than 2 weeks. We're going to get married and we run. That kind of thing. The only jealousy thing, Jamie, that I would say is she makes a fair amount of money for a West, she doesn't have to do much of anything, which leaves her free time to pursue her interests, but she doesn't have any. It's all eating and drama. We went through a period where I was like, do we have to film every single solitary thing we do? Can't we just go to the grocery store? Does it have to be a video? And we balance that out as the years went on, where we have, no content on some days. Like Saturdays at the moment, we don't put anything up, but we also don't even do work on it. It's a day off of YouTube completely because we both have this and full-time jobs. So, yeah. She's got a lovely new community post up. Oh, I'm charmed, I'm sure. I'm sure. Megs, how are you? I like the Wegmans Hall too. We got all that good stuff. The money part, I think what's enviable, not just the money, is that the fact that she has all the time in the world to do whatever she wants. And a lot of people think, if I had enough money to pursue all of my hobbies and interests, and doing that and filming them continues itself, that's a pretty nice sounding gig, assuming it pays enough for you to live. It's also very dependent on the person, though. Like if you have a 1090, you don't work for YouTube any more than I do, you know. But because that 1099 should be coming any time for me, so I'm going to see how much YouTube did or didn't take out, usually none, and see where it goes from there. So we'll see. So everybody doing okay? We're going to check out here in a couple minutes, but if anyone has any burning desires, burning questions, anything like that, the floor is entirely open. We'll check back in with her probably Wednesday of next week for a coffee break to see what's what, because Wednesday is the 31st. That's her last time to get it in as far as the drama to make a little money from views. So predicting between now and Wednesday, the shit hits the fan again. Something will happen. A video of her walking will be released and she'll be called a liar, and then there's 9 community posts. You know, the usual stuff. Usual stuff. She's not going to talk about reactors. If she didn't talk about reactors, she'd have half as much content. What would she talk about? You want to cook something else? Stick your phone out the window, go for another drive? I mean, at least mix it up a little bit. Anyway, well, folks, we are almost at the hour, so I want to thank y'all for coming and thank y'all for being here. It was a good chat today. It was a nice chat today. I was a little prepared. I found my old notebook. So I'm hoping going forward, everybody will have a good week. I'm intending to have a good week as well. And like I said, we'll check in. Tomorrow is Monday, so we should check in with Mondays with Mark, I believe. And then Tuesday we're usually off, and then we'll probably have another coffee break in the middle of the week. So I'll keep tabs on her, and then we'll check in like Wednesday with a video. It's an excuse to do intro to intro, and we'll check it there. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you all for watching. Please do subscribe. Hit the thumbs up on your way out if you'd be so inclined. Hit the alert bell. You'll get alerts when we have new videos and when we go live. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again very, very soon. So everybody be good to yourselves. Don't spend too much time in bed. And have a great week, and we'll see you soon, okay? Bye, everybody. Say goodbye, Mark.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.